The purpose of my address to Congress tomorrow is to speak up about a potential deal with Iran that could threaten the survival of Israel. Iran is the foremost state sponsor of terrorism in the world. Imagine what Iran would do with nuclear weapons.
Benjamin Netanyahu will stand before Congress on Tuesday and deliver an impassioned plea for the world to understand what he sees from his perch in Israel, the coming Iranian nuclear threat, and why America must stand closer than ever with their friends in the Middle East, for to do anything else would court disaster. Our guest is director of the Institute for Public Affairs of the Union of Orthodox Jewish Congregations of America, the nation's largest Orthodox Jewish umbrella organization. Welcome, Nathan Diament, to MidPoint. Nathan, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, Ed. Good to be with you.
Let me get your opinion right out of the box. Is Benjamin Netanyahu doing the right thing or the wrong thing by addressing Congress?
Well, I think he's doing the right thing in making sure that the American people and the United States Congress hear his case and his concerns about an impending deal with Iran, which might not, in fact, lead to the result of thwarting their drive for nuclear weapons.
Doesn't it, though, still sit in the craw of some people, even here in America? They feel that he basically went over the president's head. He didn't use proper protocol. He didn't call and say, here's what I have been offered, that it looked like he was snubbing the president and that this couldn't make things worse between them. Isn't it fair to say there are a lot of, well, not just Jews here in America, but other people who are just afraid that he's using this for political purposes?
Well, I think you have to separate out two things. I think there are many, and I would include myself among them, that wish that the invitation and the setting up of this speech, the scheduling of the speech, had been handled somewhat differently, and that we were not in the middle of this political circus surrounding the speech. That being said, you can still believe that the Iranian nuclear threat is the critical national security issue of our time, both to the state of Israel and to the United States and our Western allies in general, and that it's really important for the Prime Minister of our leading ally in the region, the Prime Minister of Israel, to be able to make his case. So what's most unfortunate about the political circus that's going on is that it is a huge distraction from the discussion of the substantive issue itself, the issue of stopping Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons.
Why is it, I guess, and this is what has to come down to a lot of the people here in America and around the world. We know about Iran. We know about the government. We know they hate the great Satan. We know that they want to wipe us and Israel off the map at any given time. So why is it so difficult for people to understand the importance of this? Because it would seem that the Prime Minister is coming here and certain people in Congress, the President, and others just don't seem to get it, that if you put a nuke in the hands of this government, they will kill millions of people.
Yeah, it is kind of dumbfounding. I will say simply what I've heard. In fact, we heard as recently this morning at AIPAC, the Obama administration's ambassador to the United Nations, Samantha Power, gave a talk this morning to AIPAC. And part of what she talked about was the administration's basic rationale, which is they believe that negotiating a deal that gets a result through negotiation is more preferential to them than any of the alternatives, which I presume by that they mean military action. They're kind of making it an either-or choice. Either we negotiate a deal or we go to war. I think many of us think that there's some middle ground there. But that's their rationale. Their rationale is let's get a deal that we can negotiate. Let's put some monitoring mechanisms in place so that we can enforce that deal. I think the underlying assumption that they're making, even taking them on their own terms, is that if they negotiate a deal, it's a deal that the Iranian leadership will abide by and will not cheat upon. And I think many of us have good reason to believe that you really cannot trust the Iranian regime to, in fact, keep its commitments even to a negotiated deal.
The emotions are running very high now in preview of his speech. Rabbi Shmuley was on our show last hour. And in the New York Times, he took out a full-page ad that said Susan Rice has a blind spot, genocide, both the Jewish people and Rwanda's. It has been assailed by so many different Jewish groups, spurious, perverse, entirely inappropriate, outrageous. What's your opinion?
I didn't use some of those adjectives that you just mentioned, but I do believe that Rabbi Boteach's advertisement did cross the line. It was a very personal attack on one individual in the administration. I think, unfortunately, again, it's part of what's going on here in terms of a distraction from the real issue. And the issue that we all need to be focused on is the threat of a nuclear Iran. What are the terms of a deal that are being negotiated? Why has the United States and its other Western allies that are negotiating with Iran, why have they moved the goalposts from we are going to dismantle Iran's nuclear capacity to we will let them have some nuclear capacity, we want to have a good monitoring system in place? Those are the issues that we need to be talking about. Unfortunately, I think Rabbi Boteach's ad was a distraction from the substantive conversation.
But what about the rabbi himself who said to us the Jews need to fight? He says, I don't care if people don't like what I'm saying right now, but we as Jews need to stand up and we have to have a unified front, because you can tell he's basically disappointed that other groups, you, such as others, are not backing him in this. He feels, I think, in many ways, that people are just kind of being very laissez-faire about it when you cannot do it.
Well, I don't think we're being laissez-faire about it. By the way, Prime Minister Netanyahu's office also criticized the advertisement. And Prime Minister Netanyahu is the one who, as he said to AIPAC this morning, he's here and he's going to be speaking to Congress in Washington, D.C., because he is fighting. He is going to give voice to his concerns. He is going to be the voice for the concerns of Israel and the global Jewish people. So it's not, again, it's not this false choice of, an extreme message or doing nothing. Many people, starting from the Prime Minister, including the 16,000 people at the AIPAC conference today, many people in my organization's congregations around the country, coast to coast, are all working and advocating and trying to get the message out that we cannot accept a bad deal that allows Iran to continue on the path to nuclear weapons capacity.
I only have about 15 seconds left. What do you hope comes out of the Prime Minister's speech?
I hope what comes out of the Prime Minister's speech is two things. One, that he finds a way to calm the waters and to get people off of the political circus sideshow. And I think more importantly, that he's able to return the focus to the substantive issue of Iran, that we get into a discussion in the Congress where there are many allies who are both Republicans and Democrats who want to say we need a good deal with Iran.
And we'll have to call it there because we're all out of time. Nathan Diament, thank you so much. We'll talk again soon.